Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to help change the world one person or one starfish at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share. That's how we get the word out about what we do. I'm excited for our guest today. I just met Dimitri. He's in, actually, I got to find out where he's at, but he runs a construction business with his family. It's a family-owned business from way back. So we're going to get into that because some of you guys are looking at businesses. He has 3 kids under 6. His wife's an attorney, so this is a busy, busy guy. He says there's 50 people coming out, for a holiday coming up, and I'm just like, wow, it's a busy guy. So I'm excited to get into his story. Thanks and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to finally make it happen.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, you started out in a family business. How was that? Because I know for a lot of people, when their family runs a business, they either are like, no way, or they try, and it's just like, I don't know, or the kids get everything handed to them, and then everyone else is mad at them. Like, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I definitely didn't have everything handed to me. My dad is from the other side. He's from Greece, born and raised. He came here when he was 18 years old. Um, got into the plumbing union back in the late 70s, early 80s. Did that for a little bit and decided to go on his own. We are based out of Brooklyn, so New York City is where we do our work. Um, with the immigrant mindset that my father had, if I was not in school, I was working. So I was in the business from 8 years old, about sweeping floors, putting material away, doing whatever I could do just to stay busy and learn some things. So that developed into progressing through high school, trying college, tried 3 different colleges, eventually graduated. Could have been a doctor by the time I was done, and was doing my apprenticeship in the union while I was finishing up my last school. Finally finished that. Got my bachelor's in business administration, whatever that means, and went to figure out what I was going to do, whether I was going to go into business with my dad or take another path. And fortunately, I made the right choice, and I decided to go into the business because it's been a blessing.
Why did it take so long to get through college? Tell us a little bit about that. I'm curious.
School was not my thing. School was not my thing. I like to work. I like to think logically instead of being book smart. I like to use common sense, and a lot of stuff that we were learning in school did not interest me, which then turned into me not paying attention and participating because I was not um, captivated, I guess. But once I'm into something that I want to be doing and I can help people in what I'm doing and help myself, that obviously lights me up, and I can do that very well.
So why did you continue then? Why didn't you just quit?
My dad, I had to get a degree.
Okay.
So actually, when I was
Does your dad
in
have a degree? I'm just curious.
he no, so I was the first one to get
That's
a
why you wanted
bachelor's.
it. Okay.
Yeah, he had some school at a local community college. He wanted all his kids to have a degree because that was, the American dream coming from the other side.
Right.
Um, and my last school, it was local. I was also playing soccer for the college, so that was a plus. That was team building and leadership and all that. So I got into it more, and I finally got out of it and graduated, and then finished my apprenticeship, which was happening at the same time.
What was your apprenticeship for? You said plumbing?
Yeah. So
Okay.
we are a union shop. Signed up with a bunch of locals, but I have a Plumbers Local One book.
Okay. Okay. So you're doing that and the business admin at the same
Yes.
time. I got you all that. Awesome. And then what made you decide to go in, the family business? You said you had a couple options, either going in the family business or not going in the family business. What I guess changed your mindset to go in the family business, and what are some of the obstacles you had to work through in order to work with your dad?
So I was a hard-headed 20-some year old that thought he knew everything, right? I had an opportunity to continue I was already in the apprenticeship. I had my book. I'm in the union. I could go work anywhere, or I could have went and did something else. I knew I wanted to do something for myself and not work for somebody. And if I'm going to work for anybody, it would be my dad because I got to listen to him anyway. So I didn't have much of a choice there. Eventually, after a few years of getting through the apprenticeship, turning out as a journeyman and working and getting into the work, it was something that I enjoyed a lot and something that I had a passion for and that I thought I could do very well at if I continued pursuing it.
What were some of the obstacles you had to overcome in order to work with your family? I don't think that's always
Listen,
the easiest.
no, definitely not. Listen first. That's number one. Shut your mouth and pay attention to what's going on because they have a lot more experience than you do. And no matter what you think you know, they've thought of it, they've been through it, and they're already out on the other
Do you
side.
remember
So,
any stories where you didn't listen and it kind of taught you how to listen? Just curious.
one story. When I was an apprentice, um, I had a like the lowest guy in the totem pole goes to get coffee for the guys. So I had to be 19, 20 years old. And I was complaining to my dad, hey, why am I getting coffee? You know, I'm the boss's son here, right? I should
Right.
have privilege,
Pulling
right?
that. Yeah.
Right. So I'm complaining, and he goes, listen, I can go tell them to 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 stop making you go get coffee. That's gonna be the end of your reputation. That's it for you. So the worst guy in the job goes to get coffee. Don't be the worst guy in the job, right? Do better so that you're not the guy going to get coffee and you can tell somebody else go get coffee. So that was one of the things that saved me early on with my reputation with the guys.
Yeah, and then you got better, so you weren't the guy that got coffee forever. You became
Correct.
I like that. Your dad did an amazing job of doing that, and I think back, like, I just when we think of kids today, we're raising kids and, you were at 8 years old, you're sweeping floors, you're doing the work, and how do you think back? Because I was raised similar, but think back, how did they get you to do that? Like, for me, it was like, it just was like, you just did that, or you don't have it's just part of like what you do. Is that kind of similar? Like, I just see kids nowadays that are like, you tell them to go like wash the dishes and they're like, "Why do I have to do that?" I'm like, "'Cause you live here." Like,
Yeah, you got to contribute
you want a roof
to
over your head?
society.
Like,
So
over
I I didn't get an allowance. So my allowance was I had to go work for it, whether I worked in the business or I had a paper route, which was another disaster, or I mowed lawns, or I cleaned,
another
or I did
disaster.
something. Yeah, the paper route is a it's a good racket. You pay up front for the papers, and if they don't pay you, you're beat. So, um, if I didn't go to work, I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. Right. So if I had something that I want to get, or I want to go do, or whatever, work is the way to get there.
You learned early that. And then you went into business and then, you worked your way up. Now you're vice president of the company, which is awesome. Congratulations. What are some tips, as far as building a company? One that I got already as far as a family company is like, don't give your kids the easy way out. I like that. Your dad did a great job as far as that goes. You had to learn how to actually work. But what just in general in a company, building a culture, you said 50 people are coming out for thing coming up. I'm guessing some of those are people from your company. I'm guessing not just family, but I could be wrong. Um,
It's a mix of both. The company is like family.
yeah. So how did you build? That's what I'm gathering. So how did you build that culture, and what are some tips that people could take from that?
Um, so the culture starts from the leadership, right? Whether it was my dad before me or me. Um, if we expect something for somebody, we better be the one doing it first and show them the way and how to do it and how to do it right and continue to improve on how we do things and continue to raise the bar, raise the standard, and then continue to hold the standard with everybody else and until you get to the point where the standard is established and everybody, all the members of the company are holding the standard to the new guys, right? So now they're taking the torch and they're bringing the new guys up the way that we brought the veteran guys up. And it's not an easy thing to do. That is not an easy thing to do. You need to constantly work on yourself. You need to get yourself straightened out first and um, maintain that and maintain sanity through that. And you need to not show emotion in front of people and crack and things like that. So it's a lot of mental toughness and a lot of personal development to get you there to build the culture of holding a standard.
So if you could do things over again, what would you do differently to get where you're at faster?
Not be a punk kid. Um,
Explain a little bit more.
listen first. Definitely listen first. I was very fortunate to have not only my dad, but a lot of people who had a lot of experience around me, and they're still part of the company today. And unfortunately, they're phasing out just because of age. Um, but because I had that experience around me, if I would have shut up and listened more than what I did, I'd probably be 5, 10 years ahead of where we are now. Um, but you got to make your mistakes and you got to learn and you got to looking back at hindsight's 2020, right? So if any younger guys coming up in anything, just listen to the older guys around you, listen to the graybeards, and absorb what you can and use it to your advantage.
What do you call them? Graybeards?
Yeah,
That's funny. I've never heard that before.
but now I'm a graybeard
I
now.
know, I was
So
just gonna say that. Looks like you're a great beard right now. That's awesome. Be coachable. That's what we talk about in our business, and that was one of my biggest things too. And so many people, it just kind of surprises me whenever they just now. I used to be that person, but I'm like, you just don't listen. So yeah, be coachable. And you talked a little bit about one of the things that you, I guess, to look at a lot is like not procrastinating. We just chatted about that before we got started. Tell us a little bit about that and how have you been a procrastinator and then how you've overcome it, or if you've never been one, or, tell us a little bit.
so paralysis by analysis is the phrase everybody likes to use, right? Um, I think everybody goes through that in the beginning because they don't want to make a mistake. But the only way you learn is to make the mistake, learn from it, and not make it twice, right? You don't want to make the same mistake twice. Um, what you learn as you gain experience by making these mistakes is the mistake is not going to derail your whole goal, right? It's not going to, it's not the end of the world. You can make a mistake and keep pushing forward, but you need to keep pushing forward. Um, I built my own house also, which was not a, I don't recommend it. And because it was my own house, now we do construction for a living. Because it was my own house, I tripled, quadrupled, 10 times checked each piece of material that came in here, each hand that was on it, and all that. And it probably took an extra 6 months because I did that instead of just picking, going, adjusting, finish. Right. That's what we do now. You have to go, even though the conditions won't be perfect, and you adjust. You make minor adjustments as you go, and eventually you reach the end. But if you don't go, you're never going to get there.
Don't be so picky. And then you obviously have got into personal development. You talked about that, stuff outside the business and personal development and associations. How have they played a role in your success, do you feel?
So with the groups that I'm part of, it's good to see people that are at your level around you and listen to the same stories and the same feelings that you went through, so you don't feel like you're alone and um, you're the crazy one because there are other people like you out there who went through the same thing, and it's just part of the journey, right? Um, I'm sitting in my gym right now. Physical fitness is a big part of what I do. That keeps the discipline. That is doing the hard things even when you don't want to do them. That way, when something comes up in the business or in life or whatever, it's not that hard because you're already beating yourself up every day in the gym and continuing to get better.
Like that. That's so good. So yes, physical fitness is important, guys. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so you have 3 kids under 6, which is intense. How have you people always talk about balance. How do you feel about balance? And if how do you balance family, business, relationships, all of that. What's your kind of tip for success there?
So there is no balance. I like to steal Ed Milet's phrase, you got to be present, right? Whatever you're doing, if you're in the business, be present. If you're home, be present with your kids, because if you're not, they notice it. Your wife notices it. They be talking to you and you're out in outer space thinking about something else. One of the, yeah, one of the main reasons my dad and I got along so well was even when I was a kid, he left work at work, and when he was home, even though he was home late and whatever. We can get into a blood argument at work, but if we're over each other's house for a barbecue that same day, it's like nothing happened, right? You need to be present with the people where you are at that moment.
You kind of learned that through watching your dad, which was awesome. So just curious, like, do you guys do plan like date nights? Do you plan like kids' times like ahead of time? Because I know some people do that. Do you do anything like that, or just kind of like you said, whenever it happens, you're present, and that is that.
No, we definitely plan. Because if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen, unfortunately, with all this stuff going on. Each kid has a different sport, a different thing, and a different whatever every day. So my wife and I, we get out every other week. My oldest son, he comes to get a haircut with me. We go to dinner after that every other week. My daughter gets a date with me every other week, so everything's fair. And my youngest is still a baby, so he'll get his time when it comes.
Yeah, he gets lots of time. He
Yeah,
just screams and he gets time. That's cool. So you're already booking time every week with, your kids. Um, yeah, and I think a lot of people could and then being present at that time, and I'm sure not like very rare would anything get in the way of that time as far as business. So they know that
correct.
they're
Phones off.
special.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. If you have family, this is something I'm like, I need to work on. I do see my parents a lot, but making sure I'm always present when I'm there is something I'm definitely a conscious effort. Because it's easier to be on your phone or something like that. But then people just know what's the most important thing is the thing on your phone and not them.
It's a
So
100%. And kids will pick that up faster than anybody else.
kids will pick it up super fast. So, and I think that if you're present, I don't have kids. That's why I'm like asking you the questions because people on here are listening, they have kids. But I think when you have kids, they really do pick it up and they would rather have quality time than quantity of time. A lot of people are like, I don't have much time and I don't want to do all these businesses or whatever. But I'm like, they don't, I think it's more about the quality of the time than the quantity of the time. And knowing that
Correct.
you're really present because there's some parents that are around all the time, but they're just never there, really. So yeah, I love that. So what's your vision for your company in the next 5 to 10 years?
So our 10-year goal is a $100 million company working in multiple geographical locations outside of New York City. Right now, the headquarters is in Brooklyn, and most of our work is done in the five boroughs of New York City. All public work for various city agencies and state agencies. So like I said, the next 10-year goal is $100 million company and working outside New York City.
Good, I like that. That's awesome. Well, in wrapping up, I always have three final questions, and then anything we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful for our listeners. First and final question is if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence you could say that could help them find it?
Um, Begin with the end in mind and turn your passion into the purpose.
Cool. Second one, what's a favorite quote and why?
Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action becomes the action. What stands in the way becomes the way.
Say that again.
What stands in the way becomes the way.
What does that mean to you?
So if you don't act on any obstacle that's in front of you, um, it's procrastination, right? It's what we talked about before. You need to take the first step and get the first problem out of your way so you can get to the next one. Because there'll always be a problem in your way. If you don't act on it, it will always be there and you'll never move forward.
Love that. Thinking of like, what problems do I have that I need to act on? Number third and final question, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Um, he fulfilled his potential.
Hmm. That's great. I love that. So you're running some in the coffee shop. And now they're planning date nights with their kids or date days or however they do it, and with their spouse and all that kind of good stuff. I love that. Working with their family, whatever it is they got out of here so far. What's something we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful for our listeners?
Don't be selfish about taking time for yourself and working on yourself, because if you are not right, you can't be there for everybody else.
Tell us a little bit more on that. Elaborate a little bit. I think that's really good.
So that again, it comes into the fitness and hobbies and just stuff to keep your mind out of the day to day, right? Also doing hard things, right? Every year I try to do something hard, like a Spartan race, or this year we're doing the tactical games in July. So being able to show up for yourself and accomplishing things for yourself and the goals that you set, personal goals for yourself, allows you to do whatever you need to do for the other people in your life.
Well, with you run a big company, do you take a day off or do you take part of a day off or how do you guard your time? Curious.
I should guard my time more. That's number one.
Good.
Um, so we plan vacations at the beginning of the year. We fill up our calendar, and that's how we do it. I stole that from Dan Martell.
Okay. And when you go on vacations, do you have your phone on you or off? Just curious.
So
I'm asking more for
I
myself. Asking for a friend.
so I have it. My problem is I need to keep busy and I need to be doing something. So I can't sit on a beach for a vacation. I need to, go hike in the mountains or something like that. Unfortunately, I can't get my way all the time. So I by day three, I have an itch and I gotta do something. So I'll check emails. I'll call into some people, see what's going on. The unfortunate thing is once you do that, now they think you're open for business and now
Right.
you've ruined your whole vacation. So I try to push that off, and I've gotten better at it, but I try to push it off as much as I can.
Good. I really appreciate that because like I try to take Sundays off. Started in 2020 and I still struggle with that and trying to set the bar harder and harder as far as like no phone calls. Like I'll text you, but no phone calls and like trying to set them and I start almost feeling guilty. I'm like, what do you mean you're taking time off? But I just read what book did I just read? 10x instead of 2x. And
That's a good book. Yeah.
yeah. For
Um, Once you establish it and you do it enough that people recognize it, or let's say they'll call you 3 times in a row, you don't answer them, they'll start to respect it. And once they respect it, that's when you get your time back. My phone shuts off from it doesn't turn on until certain times. And they can call me as much as they want. I won't answer it.
right. Yeah, well, good job, and I'm sure that was a struggle at first because it's hard to
Oh
turn
yeah.
like, I mean, I'm like, people are actually good about it. I have a hard time, like, being like, "Oh, but I feel so lazy, like, I should probably answer that call." Like, really, what am I doing instead? I'm sitting here, like, reading a book, like, I could probably, so that's my mindset, so I love that you shared that. Look after yourself first, because if can't do that, you can't grow a big business, and help your family and all the other things that are more important. That's so good. Guys, make sure to share this. Let's go out there. Let's change the world one person or one starfish at a time. If we can change one life at a time together, we can help change the world. Thanks for being on.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.